Good evening, kindred and kind. I am Forgotten Ronin, and welcome back to the Dev Diary videos. We are starting back up at Dev Diary 24, and if you enjoy the series itself, please don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Uh, we're going to be doing a lot more than the Dev Diaries as we're coming close to the current ones, so please keep your eyes open for that, and let's just begin. So for the Dev Diary 24, The Legend of the Nomad, Happy New Year and welcome to a fresh and tasty Dev Diary from the team at the Chinese Room. We are starting the year by talking about the player character Fire and how you can shape their legend and add to it as you play. As you'll see below, your story will start wearing rags, but will it end in riches? Seattle's fate is in your hands. So, I've seen this specific picture like put around. I personally just don't have a problem with this at all. It's it's a type A, type B character. To me, I don't really have a problem with it. It's something that's simple. It's something that's simple that they're able to work around with great ease, especially with everything that needs to be done for clothing, animations, and everything of the sort. Most should be the same, if not just a hair different. So this is just, you could consider it lazy. I consider it more of smart and intuitive of the developers to make something that's you can tell is male and female, um, and still would roughly work with the same animations, than have completely different characteristics and it be a big task where the game itself would possibly have more unoptimized portions to it. It's why I believe that they didn't add the Nosferatu clan as well, even though that would be something that is seen uh, in the Camarilla. I would have wished they could have, but it's not a problem that they didn't. I'm just happy that they have four clans that are well thought out at least. I do wish they would have chosen Toreador, but the Banu Hakim also seems more in line with what the character is supposed to be from. So overall, this is not terrible at all, and I think people are just overreact for whatever reason. Um, it's just character. That's all it is. People take it way too far. All right, so an elder of you choosing. As our game starts, an elder that some call the Nomad wakes up in an abandoned building in Seattle. They don't know where they are or how they've gotten there, but they are quick to adapt. The Nomad is old, and they have survived for a long time. It is clear that they have experienced a death like sleep of torpor. The last they remember was a smile and a piercing pain in the chest delivered in their haven in Tunis at the start of the 20th century. Now they are awake. What happened to them in their long slumber and who woke them? And why does their blood lack the strength and power that they are used to? Also, why is their body carved in arcane sigils? The Nomad is a legend amongst kindred. Their name has been whispered for 400 years. Of their presence in revolutions on battlefields, at slaughters, and at the fall of princes. Are they escaping these situations, causing them, or taking joy in red wrath and ruin? Whatever the truth, they are a catalyst. When they appear, the world of the kindred will be irrevocably changed. So this is Sophia, the Tremere researcher as well. So I'm really intrigued on how working with the different characters, we're going to be getting more things. If Sophia is the one that will unlock the full potential that we have, or if she's just the catalyst for us to understand what we can do in the future. So, the concept of the nomad came when we were expanding early ideas of fire to make the most of an elder's history in the world. There's a reason a vampire survives, and in the game, our vampire is always on the front foot, leaving an indelible mark on kindred society. That must have been true for the rest of Fire's existence, so what might people in Seattle have heard? In our story, different characters have different beliefs about the nomad and their history. While these events may not have had an immediate effect on the game world, they will affect how our protagonist is treated. We have deliberately left it to the player to decide how Fire treats these stories and their legend, and how much they tell other characters about their past, and indeed which stories they tell. How would a prince behave if asked for a favor by the legendary and powerful nomad who is not yet caught up in local politics? So that is the one of the sigils. Um, that is one of the sigils. Okay, so I'm pretty sure this is. We also saw that in the first trailer that we watched on the one of the first videos that we had on the channel. So I believe they used it. I believe the NOS used it as a way to just keep Fire in a kind of like demi plane, going back in time over and over and over again. So the themes behind the Nomad. In Bloodlines 2, the matter of history takes a front seat. Our protagonist is centuries old, and while they may change things up to survive, adapt, and keep pace with the march of time, they've nonetheless garnered some of the reputation. If a time immune forensic detective were to inspect and compare the various crime scenes that are human history, they would no doubt find one set of fingerprints consistent. May you live in interesting times, etc., etc. Playing an elder was a bold choice. To move forward without leaning into the unique opportunities that provide for roleplay would be a missed opportunity. In narrative design, we often find ourselves pulled between two ideals, providing agency and choice for the players to make the story their own versus keeping the story feeling intentional, strong, and tightly wound. The solution then is to establish what is immutable and within that carve out a more flexible play space. Ultimately, a good story is driven by characters being true to their psychology and either following that thread down towards tragedy, making the same mistakes over and over, or seizing upon the chance to challenge and change themselves. That's what makes a happy ending triumphant, a character's ability to sacrifice what they have desired and strained towards for so long to defy the never ending hunger of the old, painful wounds for a chance at long lasting healing. It's what makes tragic ending tug at our hearts. We see clearly what the character needs, and we see them turn away from it one too many times, too consumed by their pain to do the hard thing, give up on their coping mechanisms, and save themselves. What I'm getting at is that history for us is not merely superficial or textual. Sure, the Nomad's been around for a while, and sure, we want to give you folks the chance to say what they did with that time. But as far as storytelling tools go, that doesn't give us much. And as narrative designers, we need tools that will allow us to chisel out those big emotional moments. So, more important than the what is the why, the play space. All right, that's with Lou. Hmm. Okay. So that's the first time we meet him. Okay. Um, it's the first time we meet him, and it's but tell me, nomad of many faces, what do you call yourself now? Oh, all right. In this case, we know the nomad has moved around. We know they are notorious, but the questions that fuel and texture those facts are still up for grabs. You say this nomad has moved around, so what drove their movement? Were they fleeing something, chasing something, and really making the most of a long eternity? Where did they go? What did they do there? And what can we surmise about the nomad's psyche as a result of these decisions? Are they paranoid, curious, ambitious? What kind of arc does that suggest what might allow us to play with the framing of what they will encounter to give the impression of those personal trials? You will have the option to tailor Nomad's legacy at various points peppered throughout the game. Importantly, we have chosen not to do this up front in the style of Bloodlines 1 because this history is a choice as much as any other in the game, and a choice is most effective once you know the stakes. It should make you and maybe even agonize a little. What will happen to X if I choose Y? As such, it was important for us to have these choices occur once play has already begun, once you have started to feel your way around Seattle and its various dangers. These will come in waves, some golden path, others optional. For instance, if you choose to spend more time with and open up to certain characters, each tackling a different aspect of your legacy, which tapestry together suggests a more bespoke story. The first thing we establish is the theme. Who does the nomad say they are? A legendary warrior, a curious traveler, or a desperate survivor, fleeing disaster to avoid their foes? Once this is chosen, we branch out into further options, each unique to that choice, which both refine roleplay and drove further into that initial theme with your motivation. These sub choices layer in more texture, allowing your mind to play it all out like a movie and start filling in with the details. Later, you'll have other opportunities to further fill out this narrative, even if you wish, touching on the details that preceded or even caused your embrace. As a personal note, the research that went into fleshing out these options and bedding them into interesting but no less real history was a veritable war in the rabbit holes. Too many, even. Many, many darlings suffered their final death in the making of this game. May they rest in peace. Even so, nerding out with this stuff was a complete joy. Choices. These choices, once made, are not lost to forgotten metadata. Many will have direct nods or follow ups, sometimes much further down the line. For instance, here's a line from Lou that directly references a choice made during an earlier conversation with Fabian, showing how talk of the nomad's deeds have spread. You'll have to tell me sometime how you escaped Madame Guillotine and her cutting tongue. Others feed more subtly into the narrative, affecting the framing of why you might choose something, like something to make it fall in line with your chosen psychology and resulting arc. Fire, Katsumi is being pushed into a corner and must fight merely to exist. I know the feeling. Versus Fire, merely holding where you stand is not enough. You need to gain ground. Versus where were I in her shoes, I would leave this place. The world has more to offer than a dingy bar in a city that hates you. Or else affecting how others perceive your motives based on what they can surmise from your legacy, branching their reactions to your choices. Mystery character. Black Hand locked you behind iron doors under Paris, and you only escaped the blade by crawling through sewage. You are no mere survivor. You are the plague rat, the harbinger of wretched misery. Others will still crop up more concretely in the game world, but now I run the risk of getting ahead of myself, so I'll wrap things up here. After all, it's always better to leave a few things unsaid, a little to the imagination. So, the Black Hand, isn't that Sabat? If I remember correctly, the Black Hand is a part of the Sabat. So, we were captured by the Sabat at a certain point. Maybe. Who knows? That's pretty cool. It's a pretty cool way to add more lore into it. Bring in something we may not even see in Seattle, like the Sabbat, because we've only talked about the Anarchs and we've only talked about the Camarilla. We haven't talked about the Sabbat in Seattle. So that's basically just what we got. Um, and then we have Sophia asking about the legends, and then just making the ending cinematics. This is actually really nice. And it reminds me of like LA by Night, the four photos. It reminds me of LA by Night and how they managed to do all their stuff that way. Like it was like sort of ink blot tested type things. So that I thoroughly enjoy that. That's actually pretty nice looking. Very well. Um, so because they begin and end your experience, our intro and ending sequences need a unique and recognizable look. The True Detective opening titles were a big inspiration, and so we blended the atmospheric images of Seattle with unique and recognizable shapes from the game. Our narrative team, led by Ian Thomas, ideated all the possible Bloodline 2 endings. There are almost 40 images for all the different ending options in our game. Ooh, 40 images. So I would hope that just means that I would hope that that would mean like it's not 40 endings. If it is 40 endings, then hell yeah. Fuck yeah, I'm gonna play this shit a lot. But if it's 40 images, I'm hoping it's like 5 or 6 endings. If we want to make it an even like 5 images per ending, it's 8. So I'd be stoked. Um, if they like if they're putting that much effort into it and that's what we're also getting, that's sick. Okay. That's really, really sick. To help the game, they made a map of all the endings so we could see how they connected, and the concept team used it to create a series of storyboards and select the right images for each ending shot. We had to pick where the endings overlapped in location, event, or character to make the parts efficiently. Sorry. Some of our shots needed to be flexible enough so we could, for example, swap characters but keep the same environment if different endings were happening in the same place. The cutscenes you'll see are built from the combination of a few images from those created. So, if there are any videos coming up, what we're going to be doing is in the description. There's going to be a link to the Bloodlines 2 page. All you need to do is go to the news, go to the correct dev diary, and you'll be able to look at the videos yourself. To visualize how to transition between two images and how a static image could be animated, we made some tests and used them as proof of concept to scope the work that needed to be done for the ending cinematics. Ben Matthews, Associate Art Director, directed our concept team to create transitions that were like blood undulating and curling through water. All the images are wreathed in soft lighting, so they melt together beautifully with these animations. As we mentioned, the art direction set its roots in neo noir, and the intro and outros are also designed with this light and dark contrast in mind. To give Bloodlines 2 a unique look, we wanted to use red and black combined with blood animations overlaid to add a secondary movement and drench the city in blood. Each individual image should be evocative, and this is why our shots aren't too literal. We wanted to leave something to the player's imagination, and together with the voiceover, it results in an ending cinematic personal to each player based on their choices in the game. So for the assets creating the ending shot toward the end of the production gave us a chance to have access to a vast library of assets from the game, and we took advantage of this, assembling the end scenes using character models and props. Once the shots was approved by our concept artist, they had to separate each layer in a way that the animators could easily create a parallax effect to bring the shot to life. For example, in the images with the main character plus an environment, the scene happens inside the main character's shape, like illustrated in the scene below. So we have the blood animation in the background, the second scene with the blood, with the character shape, and then the main character itself. And then to draw your attention to the focal points, we lent on a balancing lights and darks, which was important to make the message of each image stand out. Then to give it more life, we added a secondary motion with snow, blinking lights, or smoke. Motion graphic animation has been done by our studio partner, Adam Hawk Design, who worked closely with our art department. The concept team provided with layered images, and Adam Hawk have animated and timed each shot in sync with voiceover. It's sick. But again, for the video, the link is going to be in the description below. To avoid any spoilers, we are not showing too much from the ending cinematics, but safe to say you'll see faces and places you'll come to know very, very well. Now it's up to you to complete Bloodlines 2 and unlock them. Have it out already. Come on. Jeez, we're already in what, March? It's about to be April. Get it out! Or at least give us a date, please. 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 I'm begging. Give us a date. Please. Customizing the Nomad. So as we know that you're all hungry for more information regarding the customization options that will be available in the game, we want to leave you with a confirmation of what will be available to you. You'll be able to change Fire's gender, hairstyle, hair color, and outfit. We'll share more in-depth information about this when we're ready, but to tide you over until then, here is a sneak peek. I don't really have an issue with it. That's perfectly fine by me. It's not terrible. And for the most part, it's a character they want us to play. It's not that bad. The story itself, it doesn't sound like it's going to be terrible, and it sounds like they've worked hard to make sure that the story itself is not uh in a way just lame. They've sounded like they care about the project a lot, and they've put a lot of their effort into it, so I would honestly assume that they've just been doing what they can, which is by far the best thing they can do. And we are done with this one. So, with that, we go into Dev Diary 25, the advanced combat and weapons. So, hello, Kindred. It's been about a year since we last talked about combat in Dev Diary 7, which is on the second Dev Diary video, I believe. So the team put an article together to give you a deeper dive into the things you can do as you go bump into the night. So, first things first, brawling. When blades come out in Bloodlines 2, unless you've taken extra care to isolate your prey, you're going to be outnumbered. While several discipline abilities can help you escape or swiftly resolve a fight, you'll need to do a bit of brawling when those options aren't available. Spacing is key. Your basic attacks can make short work of individuals, but are risky when you're getting sliced apart from all sides. So the basic attacks get used a lot. So during their development, I was keen to make time to give each clan their own set. The Banu is sharp and fast. Ventru, firm and precise. Tremere has a bit more reach to let you maintain distance. And the Bruja, well, bunch of stuff. It's a small thing, but I found it really helped people get into the attitude and poise of their current clan, which is really good. That's how it should be. Like, yeah, like, it's not a bad thing to make it, to personalize it that way, because to me, that just makes it a better story. It makes it more involved, and you feel more in tune with the character. So, dashing is an ability Fire can use regardless of clan and is critical for maintaining distance. It can even be used aggressively. Dashing forwards into a strike right as it hits will break your opponent's guard and leave them open for a counterattack, though this is best suited for one-on-one situations. Kicks are another useful tool and are great for handling groups. Done by attacking straight after a dash, you can pick which type you use when you're with your movement direction. A big swinging roundhouse can stumble a large group but won't create much space, whereas a back kick can send a single enemy soaring away. Both you and your opponents will be able to resist attacks used repeatedly, so you want to mix things up a bit to stay on top. Okay. And then, while kicks are great for getting opponents away from you, telekinesis is perfect for bringing them close. You can use it to yank a chosen target in for a follow-up or a feed, though consider that Kindred and their ghouls may be expecting this. Telekinesis can also earn a quick kill when used to pull an unsuspecting enemy near the edge of a rooftop, causing them to fall to their death on the street below. So telekinesis is another basic ability. Um, I thought it would be a Tremere ability, but if it's a basic ability, that's pretty fucking cool. Breakable objects like bottles and ashtrays can be grabbed using telekinesis and then thrown to create noise or distracting enemies. If you really want to create a bang, pick up a thrown explosive, such as a gas tank, a good way to hurt several enemies at once. Telekinesis can also be used to pick up weapons found from the dead, from knives to sniper rifles. A goal of Fire's combat design was to be fast and fluid, so we incorporated the use of telekinesis with weapon use to maintain speed and flow. You could kill one opponent, dump their gun magazine into a second, and toss it at a third to open them up for your next attack. Which that's pretty cool. If it is fluid, like they're saying here, and it's actually like genuinely fluid, that's going to be really really good and really really fun to play around with. So this can even be more useful when used in tandem with discipline abilities. For example, Tremere's explosive blood curse can be triggered from a distance with a well-placed shot, and Bruja's taunt, when used with mass manipulation, can encourage a whole team of opponents to drop their weapons, allowing you to turn them on their owners. And of course, the bigger they come, the harder they fall. When fighting enemies equipped with explosives, telekinesis can lead to an even more devastating turnabout. Which, hey, if that's the case, hell yeah. Hold on, wait. You're shot with a bolt, you're able to take the bolt out, and actually, that's sick. Okay, I like that. You're able to actually take the bolt out and shoot it back at them. So that does that mean that there is such a thing as superficial damage from a lot of the hunter weapons? Because that's pretty cool. That's pretty cool, and that would be actually pretty amazing. Um, that'd be pretty amazing to see, because then that means that when it comes to the hunters, you just have to worry about big groups. Meanwhile, if they're alone, it's perfectly fine as long as you're being smart. One is fine. Meanwhile, having to fight anarchs or ghouls is a little bit tougher because of just what they are. That's pretty sick. I like that. Elixirs. Our setting of Seattle features a large population of thin bloods, weaker vampires who use alchemy to create powerful elixirs that give access to vampiric powers they otherwise could not. As you explore, you can find and collect these elixirs to give you an edge in combat or help level the playing field in a difficult boss encounter. So we have the Mending Elixir, which instantly restores health, allowing you to avoid final death. The Blood Elixir instantly restores blood pips for your abilities, and it's great for continuing ability combo chains. Potence, which temporarily boosts your strength, increasing damage caused by your attacks. And then Fortitude turns your skin to marble, reducing the damage you take from attacks. Which, all those sound pretty cool and strong, actually. Like, really, really strong. So, having recently started to playthrough to test out my favorite clan, Tremere, I've enjoyed the sense of space control a well-planned fight can give you, starting out by placing recall up high so that I could teleport away if it gets out of hand. Later in the game, mixing disciplines from different clans can make fighting more powerful kindred much easier. There are a lot of useful combinations that Venture's mass manipulation can provide to manage many combatants at once. The effect of the Ban Hakim's mute on a group can make sure that the battle goes unnoticed by nearby enemies, and it's not just your own powers, but the environment that you'll have to observe, helping you find tools that are left lying around. Not all enemies will go down that easily, and I'm really excited for you all to learn how much trouble you'll be when you face off against your first kindred foe. Their powers can quickly make well planned fights go wrong if you're knocked over and surrounded. So, using Cauldron of Blood to draw everyone to the screaming victim, and then picking one of them to explode with Blood Curse can blast a crowd away before even getting close to the fight. And when it does go wrong, as it always eventually will, a quick Blood Curse on the ghoul chasing you can serve as a very handy projectile if you kick them into the people behind them. And nobody's invulnerable to an exploding gas bottle telekinetically thrown at their head, and they're easier to aim at when you've locked them in a place with mass manipulation. If everyone else if everything else fails, you can just use possession on a ghoul and make them jump somebody somewhere nobody will notice them. Which that is also pretty cool, but I I I I there there are tabletop rules that I think are just being not not used or not like played the same way in the video game, which is perfectly fine. It's just it feels weird that you're able to actually possess one of them like that, without them actually locking eyes with you. To me, that feels a little weird, but that's just that's just again the difference between a video game and TTRPGs at that point. For the difficulty setting, while difficulty settings are a standard feature for our action RPGs, we thought we'd mention that they are included because we recognize our audience's varied preferences for challenges and strive to accommodate them with carefully designed difficulty settings. For players primarily interested in narrative and exploration, easy mode ensures a smooth experience by making combat encounters more manageable. Normal mode represents the intended balance of the game, challenging players to adapt and use a mix of stealth, combat abilities, and elixirs to succeed. And for those seeking a more formidable challenge, hard mode delivers an elder vampire experience, demanding mastery of all your skills and strategies. I personally am going to play hard immediately. No ifs, ands, or buts. Hard. Um, Mainly because uh, most normal game modes, uh, for me myself, are a little easy. And hard modes tend to be extremely difficult. And it feels better to just take on that challenge. All right, and that is the end of that one. We're going to be moving on to the next one, which is the Masquerade of Seattle, Dev Diary 26. All right, so hello, Kindred. Last time in Dev Diary 18, Building Our Seattle, we walked through the streets of our Seattle, exploring its foundations and the world you'll navigate. Tonight, we're diving deeper into the city, its inhabitants, and the rules that keep everything in check. These rules, the Masquerade, aren't just a suggestion, they're the law. Break them, and you might find yourself on the wrong end of a court assassin's stake. So, again, for the videos, it'll be in the description. I do believe if you just search up the Dev Diary videos on YouTube as well, you should be able to see it from the World of Darkness YouTube channel as well. The first tradition, the Masquerade. Thou shalt not reveal thy nature to those not of the blood. Doing such shall renounce thy claims of blood. The first tradition is the only one universally respected, but also the one that is broken the most often. A sloppy feeding with witnesses, a vulgar display of undead might, a confession to a beloved mortal. These things happen, but kindred are expected to clean up after themselves, or they will be held to pay. The crime world code, Snitches Get Stitches, doesn't even begin to describe how seriously both the Camarilla and the Anarchs take the Masquerade. In the age of YouTube dares, clickbait, and fake news, a Masquerade breach is easily overlooked by the masses. But any transgression can end with a Black Ops team kicking in a Haven door. Only the craziest of K-Knight superiority fanatics dream of an age where they can rule openly. The rest have faced reality. The undead fare better as parasitic powers behind the throne than as great predators or infernal lords of human dominions. Masquerade mechanics. In the world of darkness, their masquerade refers to the efforts made by kindred to conceal their existence from humanity to ensure their survival. This secrecy is vital, as widespread knowledge of their existence would likely lead to a catastrophic response from humans, ultimately resulting in the destruction of kindred society. The masquerade is enforced by the Camarilla, particularly in Seattle, under the authority of the sheriff. Violations of the masquerade, such as using supernatural abilities in public, are met with severe punishment, including exile or final death. In Bloodlines 2, you must maintain the masquerade. Failure to do so will result in a swift stake through your heart. To help monitor your actions, there is a masquerade meter at the top of the screen, consisting of two key parts. The eye symbol. If the eye is open, it indicates that someone is currently watching you. It is best to perform vampiric activities out of sight of human witnesses. The bars around the eye. These bars fill up when you are caught committing acts that breach the masquerade. The progression of the bar occurs in three stages. Upheld in green, minor infractions such as being seen jumping abnormally high or running too fast. Avoid repeating minor breaches or the meter will advance to the next stage. Caution, orange. Triggered by excessive actions such as feeding, using violent abilities, or accumulating too many minor infractions. At this point, human becomes suspicious. If someone witnesses your crime, they may report it to the police. You can deal with the witnesses directly or avoid the police. Using an ability to make the witnesses forget what they saw can be an effective strategy. Engaged/broken, red. At this stage, the police are actively pursuing you. You must break their line of sight immediately. If the meter fills completely, the Camarilla will take decisive action to end your activities swiftly and mercilessly. Maintaining the masquerade is crucial for survival in Bloodlines 2. Stay vigilant and avoid unnecessary risks to ensure you remain under the radar. Fire's job as sheriff. As sheriff, the nomad has a duty to keep the peace. That includes stamping down on any outside attempts to breach the masquerade. With the court's control of the city in jeopardy, other factions are starting to let chaos bleed out from the alleyways and into the streets. The police, under the thumb of the Camarilla, are a reactive force, not a preventative one, when it comes to kindred affairs. From a gang causing trouble in a graveyard to an outright assault on one of the city's most public places, groups like the Anarchs can sense the rift among those in power and leap to action. Throughout the journey of the Nomad, the risk of exposure grows and grows. We wanted quests to take place in the city to feature bursts of violence and disorder that require the sheriff's undivided attention. Quick thinking will be required as much as discreet tactics. The Nomad must restore order, outright crush the enemies of the court, and perhaps find new allies. So, the districts of Seattle. Hey, Bloodlines fans, let's talk about our Seattle. We've split it into 5 districts: Uptown, Downtown, Chinatown, Financial, and Industrial. Each one has its own vibe, quirks, and dangers. The city doesn't sleep, and you'll be hunting at its heart. All districts connect into one seamless space, no unnecessary barriers between them to break your immersion. You're free to roam, stalk, and keep the masquerade intact. From alleyways to rooftops, it's your playground or hunting ground. Just don't let the locals catch you doing something unsightly unless you want to be hunted by the authorities. Each district is distinct. Uptown and Financial have skyscrapers to trunk around, while downtown is packed with tight and alive. Chinatown glows with lanterns and secrets. Industrial is raw with warehouses and factories. These layouts shape your experience and strategy. So, key locations fit each district's theme, from a shadowy pawn shop in downtown to a bustling nightclub in uptown. The deeper you get into the story, the more locations are revealed and open for you to explore, drawing you further into the city's secrets. And yes, there are familiar Seattle landmarks too, but this isn't your postcard city. It's darker, tailored for vampires. Sorry, no Space Needle views unless you're looking for a long way down. Seattle's districts are more than a backdrop, they're alive. Hunt recklessly, and you'll feel the heat. Play it too safe, and you'll miss what's lurking. Balance is key in the city of shadows. See you out there. So they've touched on feeding in the city before, but what does that actually mean? As fire, you'll have plenty of opportunities to feed, but within the city, feeding expands into a broader set of options. Let's explore them. One of these options is social feeding. This differs significantly from feeding in the heat of combat, where the act is often aggressive, violent, and purely a means to an end. Social feeding, on the other hand, is more intimate. It's an embrace rather than an attack. For me, it was important that social feeding felt distinct, not only because it's generally more rewarding for fire, but because it requires the player to consider who they target, where they strike, and how they go about it. These feeds take longer, are more deliberate, and demand careful approach. Since social feeding is both an embrace and a higher reward action, we always kept in mind the need for strategy, stalking prey, setting up the right situations, and most importantly, avoiding discovery. If a civilian catches you in the act, they will run to report you to the nearest police, which will lead to conflict and combat, often resulting in a breach of the masquerade, which can quickly escalate into all out violence. I really like this risk reward system that social feeding offers, which you just don't get from combat feeds. Whilst there are many ways to manipulate the civilians of Seattle, conversation or raw intimidation, to name a few, I personally like to lean into my vampiric abilities to put civilians into a relaxed state where I can freely feed on them in a secluded alleyway. It's one of the perks of playing as a venture. Speaking of alleyways, the Seattle Bloodlines 2 isn't just a hunting ground, it's a city rich with personality, distinct districts, and a diverse population. As you explore, you'll come across different districts, each with its own unique feel, look, feeding opportunities. Chinatown is bathed in neon lights, bustling with nightlife, while a financial district is a prime spot to find business professionals among the high rises. The homeless can be found in most districts, but downtown is home to entire encampments. Understanding where to find civilians can be key to mastering social feeding. After all, the tactics you use on bikers outside a bar will be very different from those you employ on shoppers in uptown. And that is it. Um, so with that, we are all set um, with this video. Um, it's looking really well. If I do have one thing that I do want to say about the map itself that we got. I do hope that this is a district and not the full map. If it is the full map, that makes me a little sad, but it to me it just feels small and it feels like it's the first map that you get whenever you fully enter the game out of whatever tutorial state that they have you in. So I do hope that the map does get bigger from here. Um, but for what it looks amazing. It looks good, and it looks like it's going to be a decent sized map. So I am extremely happy. I can't wait. Um, I don't normally get hyped, but I'm more hyped now than I was before about this because everything is looking and sounding like it's just fucking awesome. And that everybody's putting their heart out just to make sure that this actually works out well. And that's all I really ask for any game is just developers doing their best, putting their hearts out, and making a game that they are proud of. Because if they're proud of a game, I'm happy to play the game, and even if it's a bad game to me, I know somebody's gonna like it, and I hope that they see that hey, games are games are not meant to be played by everybody because people just won't like the game. But when you find the group that loves your game and plays it so much, that's when you know you guys have made it and it's just awesome. Um and with what we've gotten and them saying the 40 different uh like ending uh scene cards, I'm excited to play over and over and over again to try and get as many endings as I can because that's also so fucking sick. Um, I can't wait to play. I really can. And well, for that, that is the end of the video. If you did like it, please give us a like, share, subscribe to the channel. I hope you guys have a very nice day, night, evening, afternoon, morning, wherever you are in the world. And I hope to see you in the next video.